I would like to start off this video by apologizing. I did say that I was going to start posting more frequently, and then I kind of did the opposite. Um, I don't really have an excuse. My motivation was very low. And some of you have been saying, like, don't apologize, just post when you want to, write scripts when you want to, record when you want to, all of these things. And I appreciate that. But I did say that I want to take this more seriously, and I do think that having more of a schedule makes sense if I want to do that. So I'm going to try to figure things out. Now saying that, it's probably going to get worse again. I just wanted to keep everyone in the loop that I'm trying to figure things out. And yeah, it's a complicated process. I'm sure you guys understand, which yeah. A song that I recently wanted to make a video about, or rather a single album that I wanted to make a video about, was Yena's Nemonemo, which had some interesting discourse online because there was a critic who gave Nemonemo, I believe, a 0.5 star rating, which people were not happy about. And I have mixed feelings. The reason people were upset is kind of valid, and it's interesting for me to talk about because I've been criticized for not being clear with my opinions about this. I personally think that a song being fun does not make it bad by any means. And I should be clear, I think people are aware, if they've been on my channel, that I am a big Yena fan. I'm a big Jigumi. I defend Yena any chance I get. I think lyrics are important, and I think I place a lot of value in lyrics. At the same time, I do believe that a song can just be fun, and that doesn't take away from anything. Like, it doesn't have to have these amazing, or that's not the way I should discuss it. It doesn't have to have these complex lyrics to make it good. It can just be what it is and be good. And I do believe that. At the same time, I am a channel where I like discussing lyrics, so I'm going to discuss lyrics. And surprisingly, for some people maybe, I think that people don't give Yena the credit that she deserves. I think that some of these lyrics are really interesting, and I want to discuss them in depth today. So if you would let me do that, I would be really grateful. Starting, I guess, of course, with Nemonemo. It's sort of describing this love made into something grandiose. The relationship is what it is, but the speaker is, as she describes, thinking backwards. And there's a warning sign being described that they still pursue like a diamond. They say Nemonemo sign, talking about a square sign. I think that could be referring to like a diamond shaped road sign. I think that is an interesting way to go about describing warning signs. I mean, I think that that's something that we need to give credit to, but I am going to go into more specifically my line level annotations now. So starting, of course, with the intro, we have the depiction of the abstract, but talking about physical attributes, making the physical into something abstract. In the first verse, we have what would be masculine rhymes, but they're not separated into two lines, so they're not masculine, which is interesting. We also have what could be a couplet, but it's not a couplet, and just the idea of not coupling something together and not portraying something as masculine is interesting here to me, at least. And we have a lot of harsh K sounds in this verse. They're kind of more involved in disregarding others. They talk about chewing the ice cubes, and they kind of use euphemisms. They're very much building up to this legitimate glaring, which is portrayed in the present tense, interestingly enough. In the pre-chorus, they are very clear that this is an apostrophe. There are a lot of stipulations to the romance that they are talking about, and they're talking abstract, saying like first, and then portraying the physical second. They talk about the abstract first, saying like, and then they portray the physical second. They're more general, saying more through that. In the chorus, they portray this threat, but it's theoretical, and you have to question, is there control? Um, they state reality and the threat of that. There are parentheses, there's the unconscious speaking to sameness, and the scars are killing the speaker, not the injuries, which is interesting. And there's a lot of characterization here with where like squares and cranky, specifically cranky is an interesting line. And in the interlude, we have Hey Stop, What's This? In verse 2. There's this change versus things always being the same. Are we surprised by the same? Are we discouraged by the same? And they kind of portray being locked out as equal to being ignored, raising the stakes. And they portray this upset outside of darkness. They say our relationship is really dark, even if you upset me. And you would think that the upset would be related more to the darkness, but the upset is, like I said, outside of the darkness, which is interesting. And then in the pre chorus, we have this trepidation, even though they know exactly what they want, they question the exact steps to achieve it. And finally, with the bridge, there's this determined character versus unstable physical attributes, and they have this question at the end. Hold on, I don't want to end it like this. And you get the sense that they have a lot of ideas even as they're questioning things. The question is sort of stemming from the ideas that they have rather than a lack of ideas, which I think is interesting. So I think that this song is very interesting, for lack of a better word. I think that people don't necessarily give it the respect. Respect is not the word I'm looking for, but people don't give it the respect that it deserves. I think that it deserves a little bit more um praise, I guess. So then I want to talk about the B side, starting with Sugar. They kind of portray this questioning of a good thing, sort of confusing the self. They want to understand, there's clean phrasing, there's characterizing, even when it causes further confusion about hurt. They're very knowledgeable. At the same time, they are lost, searching for connection again. They have this lost sense of self too. Reality is not hitting, and unreality is sort of warping things. There's this othering going on, even though they're using universals. There's denial, speaking to others on behalf of the self at the same time. They portray, I called it lacking, saying lacking, saying lacking. So they say, even my mom doesn't know. She says, you're definitely going to leave me. Isn't that ridiculous? So they're portraying this lack of character. And in fact, that ties into this other lack of character. And then doesn't that say that they really lack character? It's very interesting. Just hit, hit, hit. And then they kind of have reality broken up into lines. There's dialogue, there's stuffed questioning versus all of this self assurance sort of spread out. And there are stipulations with the word like, because they say, in the meantime, I'll act like I trust you and melt you, making you completely mine. And it's interesting because it could be, I'll act like I trust you and like I melt you, or it could be, act like I trust you and melt you. So and with the tying into the idea of melting, there's the question of, can they become something else, or is it like they can melt you? You know, it there's with like there is a stipulation of, can this actually occur? And then they have sort of these reversals going on at the same time. They're portraying togetherness, but they're sort of spreading out the idea of significance. And they start to sound, they sound like they're grateful, but they're scared the relationship betrayed their trust and that it will forever be a farce. And they're sort of identifying the farce in their self. And at the end, they end the song with, in the meantime, I'll act like I trust you and melt you completely. The word completely makes me think about, like, is there a completeness in emptiness? Because if you're melting something, there is a sort of emptiness. You're not the things that you were before, you're sort of something more one note. I don't know. Uh, it's hard to explain, but you are one thing. You are not the things you were before, and in that there's a sort of emptiness. So it's interesting to say completely when you're talking about emptiness, if that makes sense. And then finally we have It Was Love, which Um, I have to question if the title is a confirmation or another thing we simply say. Like, are they confirming that the thing they are describing was love, or is it just, we say it was love? That's the thing we say. So it starts with some not so straightforward sentence structure, but it is repeated structure. They talk about half open, sleepy eyes, which is interesting because typically in literature, when referring to lack of physical sight, that is indicating greater moral sight, but this isn't really visual impairment, it's just half open, sleepy eyes. So take with that what you will. They talk about passing stops and noticing it, which is interesting with the recurrence of mistakes and sort of losing grip. On the other hand, you have not straightforward sentence structure, but the literal attributes are being passed by as well without notice and sort of lacking the former repetition. They go on to portray wondering as something that unites and brings us into the current moment. They also kind of question things that are theoretical. They talk about common words, sorry and thank you. Those words are so common, which is interesting because it kind of ties into likey, which we talked about recently. Um, they said, like is such a common word. In this, they're saying something very similar. They're talking about their clumsiness and the hand, as well as a lack of honesty that they have, and they're indicating that this is portraying love, or it is what they want to say it is. And the phrasing is interesting, the specificity is interesting. There's, introspection, but sort of the bad in them is being honored. They have circumstances sort of happening to them, and the circumstances are then happening and happen to, which is interesting. And then in the bridge, they portray taking action as meaning something. Someone is boring. Someone is such a boring adult. And then they talk about in the outro the senses, and they don't exist anymore, but they talk about existing in the present tense with this sort of winding structure. And they have a lot of words about words, the words I wanted to say, the words I want to tell you, which is very interesting. It's a very underrated album in terms of lyrical analysis. And if you are at all interested, I would definitely encourage you to look at Yena's lyrics because I think a lot of them are very underrated. Let's say it as it is. I don't find myself offended by other people not liking Yena's music. I think, you like what you like, I like what I like. But I do wish that people would talk about this more just because to portray it as something that Yena is lacking is so strange. I don't know. Um, all of that being said, I guess this is the end of the video. People sometimes say that these videos sound like English lectures, so I do leave a syllabus in the comments if I remember. Sometimes I don't remember, but you should remember to leave a like and subscribe. Hopefully I'll actually remember to start saying that at the end of videos. Hopefully I'll start making videos more frequently. All of this, all good things, hopefully. Hopefully. Happy December. It's my birthday month. So this should be interesting. Um, yeah. I hope everything's going well for everyone. Let me know how you've been doing in the comments. I want to talk to you guys and let me know if you have any ideas for videos. I definitely have a lot of ideas that I have a lot of trepidation about making. Specifically, I have a video in the works about fashion, and I don't know anything about fashion. I'm just very interested in it as of recently. So we'll see if that video actually ends up being made. Let me know if you'd be interested, even though I don't know anything about fashion technically. Yeah, thank you. Goodbye.